Hi, this is Dolly from Rocky Mountain Bee Supply. I'm here in Little Rock, Arkansas with my two baby brothers. As you can see, they're taller than me. This is Chris Sublette and this
Hello.
is Jackie Sublette from Queens Landing Apiaries here in West Little Rock, Arkansas. And today we're going to be getting into a hive that has a very unique breed of bees that we're going to be looking at today. What we're going to be looking at are some Caucasian bees. Chris primarily ran, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, you did mostly like Italian and some Italian Russians.
And a Russian hybrid.
Russian hybrids. And what were some of the drawbacks that you ran into here, at least in this area?
Building up with brood too early,
Okay.
and swarming too early. And our winters here tend to be warmer, and they burn through resources more. So the other variety of bees are getting started too early for us here before our nectar flow starts. So we wanted a bee that would build up a little later and be more useful and cognizant of their resources, and we just weren't getting that with the Italians and the Russian hybrids. So that's why we wanted to try to find a bee that would fit what we're looking for here more, and that's why we landed on the Caucasian bee.
Okay. And then the reason this just kind of resonated with me is even though we're in a totally different geographical area in Colorado, some of the things that we run into in Colorado is when the bees build up too early, it's still winter time. So for us, that's a lot of times we have bees that will, hives that will can't get into cluster quick enough, or they'll freeze to death, and they may build up too quick, too fast in the spring. And so as Chris and I were talking about all the pros of the Caucasian bees, kind of a little light went off in my head about, would they work in Colorado? So something we're kind of interested to get into this hive and look at with the traits of the Caucasian bee, which is the slower buildup in the spring, the less tendency to swarm, correct me if I'm wrong, they go into winter with a smaller,
more defined nucleus.
Yeah.
And they use it takes considerably less resources for them to overwinter successfully.
Okay, so those are some of the key traits that we that kind of really set bells off for me. That would this type of bee work well in Colorado? As you can kind of see, we were getting this. We took the honey super off, and we took the queen excluder, and you can already see the Caucasians have started propolizing that really nicely, and that's one thing that they do. They're very high propolis producers, which is a nice thing to have also in colder climates to seal your hive up, and they're very hygienic. So the inside of this hive, compared to other honeybees, is going to be extremely well propolized with the propolis, which is very antifungal, antiviral, antimicrobial. So just some things to consider about the Caucasian honeybee. And so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to let Chris do the honors here, and he's going to get into this hive and we're going to look at it and kind of talk through what we see on the frames. Now this is, Chris, this is a 2022 mated Caucasian queen.
And she's only been in here for, we're right at about a month. So what we're seeing here is the early beginnings of her getting started. Okay. So one more round of brood, we'll be seeing a lot more of the behaviors of the Caucasian
Great.
bees and the queen. Another thing I want to add too, for a lot of people that are in the southern region, you may think, well, I don't want a bee that's better for winter or whatnot, but like here in West Little Rock, Central Arkansas, really the state of Arkansas in my opinion, we warm up fast, but we also have the tendency to get a sharp freeze all of a sudden for later on into early spring. And the year before last, I lost all of my hives due to a freak winter storm that we had, and that was because they had brooded up so early and there was so much brood and they wouldn't break cluster, and they died with food around them. And you just won't have that with the Caucasian. bees.
Something else, the same thing that we deal with in Colorado is the extended winters. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, we had 18 inches of snow the week after Mother's Day in May. So this is something that we're kind of looking at to see, you know, the performance of these Caucasian bees and see if this wouldn't be something that really can excel in the climate of Colorado.
Mostly nectar on this frame, but you can see the propolis.
Yeah. So it's a little different in Colorado. If you'll notice, the propolis is kind of a tan, grayish color, and usually in Colorado we get that reddish.
Reddish. It's very, very different. It's
high
interesting how
altitude.
different it can be.
Yeah.
So, this is also a very,
Wow, Captain.
It's all
very, very gentle bee. Now, I haven't had them that long, but I would tell you the temperament of these hives started changing quickly after she was put into the hives.
And what were they before, Chris?
Before, this was an Italian.
Okay.
This was an Italian.
So there you go, folks. I mean, even, you know, how gentle Italians are, and they're even more chill.
Well, my problem here also is our spring typically comes on with a vengeance here in central Arkansas, and the bees can just build up so fast, and the swarm tendency has been something that I've always had to fight a lot, and I would rather have a bee that builds up later on but is less likely to swarm than one that builds up fast and swarms on me. And I make splits, we make our splits, we do everything we can to control swarming, but it's difficult for us here with those varieties of bees, the Italians and the Russian hybrids. There's a bunch of drone
Got some drone brood on there.
drone brood there.
Got some drone brood on there.
Yeah.
And on the Caucasian honeybee, Chris, you were telling me that they will they forage in cooler, rainier
Yes,
weather?
so if I'm not mistaken, they either have the longest or the second longest proboscis of any of the European variety honeybees, and which just essentially means they have a longer tongue. So they're really able to go out and forage on anything and everything that's available at the time, and that can really make a difference when something's budding out or whatnot that most bees can't get to. They can go take advantage of that resource, and they're also more likely to forage and make flights on cooler, damper days. It doesn't bother them as much.
This is capped honey and pollen.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You know, our main thing is honey production as opposed to raising bees. And I think if you're making packages and making nukes, I see the benefit of the Carniolans and the Italians. Those are traits that you want, but for us, that's just really not that important.
That's a very nice solid frame of capped honey. And
Now we're getting into some brood.
oh, very nice.
got a little bit on this side too.
Yeah.
Boy, they sure are gentle, aren't they?
Very gentle.
So got a very nice.
And they've been, you know what? Actually, I think she's been in here. I may be wrong. It's been over a month, hasn't it? Hasn't it, bro?
Yeah.
See, cause Sis, can you zoom in and see?
We're right at it.
There's a newer drone. Look at his color.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah,
and see that bee there that is darker?
Yeah.
It's like almost like a dirty white color. See, those are her. There's a new bee right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of her babies.
Yeah.
See how golden that one is?
Yeah.
See how the other ones are more of a
Darker color.
darker color? Those are Caucasian workers right there.
And that's a nice frame of cap brood to have up on that top deep there. So it looks like she's a nice laying queen there.
And look how few bees are flying around us, and there's a lot of bees in this hive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very nice.
And they're just really calm on the frame and everything.
Wow.
I love what I'm seeing here.
Okay. All right.
Keep going.
So just as kind of a little a side note, while Chris is going through these frames, is, you know, he called me up in February, and he's like, "Sis, you know, my bees are hanging in the trees. They're busting out of the corner of the boxes, you know, and you know, talk about, you know, stressed out." That's, you know, kind of one of the things that we see in Colorado a lot too, is especially with the Carniolans and the Italians, and when we hit those nectar flows in the early spring, and they tend to start swarming, and you'll have a hive that can throw multiple swarms, which is kind of interesting. And that's a really nice frame of cap brood there. You can see, and she's got a nice solid pattern there. Just a really, really nice queen.
Look how calm the bees are on the frame. They're not running.
Just really, really nice bees right there, real healthy. And with the Caucasian traits of being very hygienic bee, Chris, what do you expect as far as mite management?
I'm expecting to, of course, I'm going to treat, but I always do an alcohol wash to make sure that I need to treat before I treat. That's one thing I would say is don't just treat.
Yeah.
You know, make sure that you need to treat before you do treat. But I'm expecting to have lower mite counts, or should expect to have lower mite counts with these bees in between treatments, just because of the they're more tolerant of varroa mites, the propolis envelope inside the hive. It's a more antimicrobial environment, which helps reduce a lot chopped brood, American foul brood, European foul brood. You're historically, you have a lot less susceptibility of that.
Like K-wing virus.
Exactly, with the Caucasian bees. And we do a pretty good job of keeping our mites under control, but I would love to not have to treat if I don't have to. It's time and it's money to do that.
Hey Chris, what do you use here for, what is your go-to for mite management? What product do you?
So I'm a firm believer in oxalic acid, and I think one of the smartest things to do is to use oxalic acid vapor treatments in the broodless period. So I'll hit them really good towards the end of November, first part of December here is kind of when we can expect to be broodless, and I'll hit them with at least 4 treatments, 5 days apart with the vapor. And then I like to use Apivar, and after I pull the honey off in August, and coming out of winter, if I do a wash and I need to do a treatment, I like Apivar for that as well.
Nice.
So, I'm not a big fan of the Formic Pro. I haven't used that, but I've just read where it can kind of cause some brood loss and affect the queen, and we have really good results here with that.
So Chris is getting kind of to the end of this top deep box. We've seen quite a bit of capped brood on this box. So these bees look to be very healthy, doing well. Chris is seeing, you know, the results of the new traits of the Caucasian queen that he's had here. So she's had time to start laying and have her progeny present on the frame. So right now she's standing on her own brood on these. So really, really nice bees. We're going to attempt to go down here into the bottom box, and we're going to go ahead and take a look. Maybe we'll get a
Shot
glimpse of her.
Of Her Majesty.
Yeah, of Her Majesty here.
And they're also, I know this doesn't really matter, but they're just a beautiful bee to me. The queens are so pretty. They look really elegant. I know there's a lot of people probably going, oh my God, did he just say that?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. But I love my girls and I love these bees, and these are such a good calm bee, and they're fun to work. It's enjoyable. You know, when you get in your bees, it should be enjoyable.
Yeah. And a nice frame of capped honey there.
I think we can close this up.
Yep, we're going to button
I
this
think
box
she's
up. And
down in the bottom box.
Yeah, she's probably going to be down in there.
Okay, bro.
You want to put it in or you got it?
I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Got it?
Yep.
It's a really, really nice looking, healthy hive.
Oh, now check your frames, because that propolis holds on to all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, and if you're one of those people who does harvest propolis,
This is your bee.
this is your bee
This
right
is
here.
your bee. I can already say that compared to Italians that I've had in the past and the Russian hybrids that I've had in the past, the propolis is at least twice as much.
All right, Chris is going to go ahead and tighten the frames up here in this box, and then he's going to take this one off, and we're going to go down into this bottom brood chamber and see what we can find in there. Hopefully we'll get a glimpse of her. If you're one of those beekeepers too, where you have a lot of older equipment, it's probably not in the best of shape. You know, you might be able to cut back on the wood
Ready.
filler with these bees here, because they'll do it for you.
Exactly. Yeah, bro. Let me give you a look. Yeah, bro.
It's going to take a village here. There we go now.
It's got
Okay.
some weight to it, bro.
Yeah. All right.
Here's the bee that turned into a rock. Look at the propolis. See
Yeah.
here?
Yeah. They're real nice.
Well, we knew it was going to be robust. I agree with Chris though. I think they are beautiful.
They really are. We got a new frame in there. They've been drawing some wax out on that. Looks really, really nice.
Jake, you want to get a zoom in of the propolis on the end of that frame?
Got it?
Also, Dolly, I'm thinking that with how frugal these bees are, I'm not expecting to have to feed as much. And feeding, to me, I mean, it's expensive and it's a lot of time, and your time is money. So I'm curious to see how much less I'm going to have to feed with these compared to the Italians and the Russian hybrids we have.
The same thing in Colorado too. We struggle with because we have such a short season there for our bees. We really have to feed them to get them up to the 2 deeps for successful overwintering. So that's another thing I'm kind of excited about, to see how Caucasians would do up there. I kind of would like to do kind of a test run with these feeding versus not feeding to see how they would do in that climate. Because I spend a lot of money, I spend quite a bit of money on sucrose. So, just something else we're kind of thinking, if it could work, kind of similar circumstances as you, but very different climate and weather patterns, but could be a solution to some of those things that we face at higher altitude with a longer winter. Very nice capped honey on these frames.
Pollen here, honey here. Got eggs here.
Nice. One thing I would recommend to beekeepers who are interested in keeping Caucasian bees with their tendency to propolize, well, I don't know if you can really see it, but in Chris's boxes down here, if you'll see on the frame rest, he has the metal L-shaped rabbits on there, which really, really help get your frames out when you're dealing with a bee that does propolize quite a bit. Just makes it a little bit easier to get the ears of your frames up out.
Here's a beautiful frame of brood, and look how she has already laid into the cells in between the capped brood. See the larva
Very
in
nice.
between?
Yeah. She's got a very nice laying pattern.
All the way up. Look at that. Look at that. Very nice. Yeah, same here. The frame beside this has some overcomb on it that's preventing them from filling out that frame. I'll need to trim that up so they can build that frame out. No, they're fine.
They're just as gentle and as pacific and calm.
And keep in mind, there is still, I know the queen sets the temperament for the hive, but there is still a lot of bees from the Italian queen that was in here before. So I think we have room to improve even more from where we're at right now.
You know, which is amazing because they're just really calm on the frames and just extremely gentle.
You can really tell the difference between her. Between her babies and the other babies.
Very, very nice.
What do you think, sis?
I really, really am impressed. I really like the temperament. You know, I'm really impressed with a lot of the propolis, which I wouldn't, you know, I actually sell propolis at Rocky Mountain Bee Supply. There is a big market for that. I have a lot of customers that come in and buy that. So, you know, I think it's one of the more valuable things that you can harvest from your hive, you know, besides the honey. And I'm just really, really impressed with this queen's brood patterns and just the overall temperament. And she seems to be a really, really quality queen that you got.
Look at the brood.
Yeah, very nice brood pattern.
So this hive is really going to, and what is impressive to me is how all of the cells that have hatched in between all of this brood. I'm seeing an egg just about in every one already. So she's definitely making very wise use of what room she has to lay in.
And this is a young queen too, so she's you know, she's firing on all cylinders, so which is really what you know what you want.
I think that's one of the mistakes that we've made is I've really become of the opinion that you should requeen every year. And I mean, there's, you know, I think for us the key is requeening in the summer so that the queen we put in there has some time to get established in the colony, lay a little bit of brood, and then she's really going to be at her peak performance when spring rolls around.
Cell over here that I can see.
Wow, just look at that.
Wow, just amazing.
Not messing around.
So seeing this, you can just imagine what this hive is going to be like in another 20 days. And literally every cell in between here has eggs. Good amount of royal jelly. I mean, it's doing really well. And also keep in mind, this hive, I split this hive in March. Took 3 frames of brood out of it. It has since swarmed 2 times, and I got the Caucasian queen installed in here, and you know, this is what you're seeing is from a severely depleted hive from from the split that I made, number 1, and then the swarms that came out of it.
And still, and you've got a really nice population.
And we've got and I'm really impressed. I kind of didn't expect to see so many of her babies in here already, so that's good.
Looks like she got busy very quickly.
She got busy very quickly. There she is. There's that beautiful girl right there. Can you guys see her?
There she is right
Oh,
there.
I see her, yeah.
Oh yeah, she's beautiful.
Look at her.
Really dark, like a mahogany.
See how, look how, see she's not really running.
Very calm.
You see her, Jay?
Yeah,
He's all fun. Beautiful.
Well, Chris, this is just an outstanding hive that you've shown us today. Just a stellar queen. Thank you so much for talking about the Caucasian bees with us and spending that time. A big shout out to Queen's Landing apiaries here in West Little Rock, Arkansas. It's a beautiful day out here. We got a couple more hives to go through, but it was really a treat today, Chris and Jackie. Thank you so much for taking the time to go through the hive with us and talk about this beautiful breed of honeybee. We sure are excited, maybe hoping we'll get some of these in, if not this year, next year in Colorado. This is Dolly from Rocky Mountain Bee Supply in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Thank you for watching with us today, and happy beekeeping.
Thank you.